Hello, my name is Hersh, and welcome to the HERshyt show. Well, a little bit about it. You're gonna laugh, you're gonna cry, you'll probably cuss at me, but that's alright. I just want to bring to you the realization of what's really going on in this world that a lot of people are afraid to speak on. Enjoy. Alright, welcome back to the HERshyt show. So, like I told you before, well, first and foremost, I think I keep forgetting to say my name. I'm HERshyt, if you don't know me. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. Again, I am still in the same shirt, one of my favorite shirts, and yes, it does say fuck racism. It was actually created by Top Notch Services of Georgia. And we're going to talk about this lovely topic right now, racism. Let me tell y'all, let me remind y'all, especially people that are 40. Our parents grew up during the time of segregation. Wasn't that long ago. 60s. Bit by dogs, hit by fire hoses, segregated, couldn't go to white schools, couldn't do none of that. But the honest truth, and one of my homeboys said this before, it's going to take white folks in America to stand up against racism. Bottom line, yes, the media discusses racism a lot because it's out there. It's still very real, unfortunately. Even in the early 90s, maybe I only went to high school for about a year and a half, but even during our high school, there was still race wars, and that's the early 90s. Racism is not dead. Racism is taught, most likely, passed on from generation to generation to generation. And I firmly believe that if we utilize the laws that are already in place for terrorism, because that's exactly what quite a few racists are, there's a lot of closet racists. And there's a lot of side swipe conversations of, girl, did you hear what happened? So that's so sad. Oh, yes, girl, that's just so mean. Something needs to happen. But they're not calling them out. They're not calling out their friends. They're not calling out. And when I say they, I mean white folks. You're not calling your family and your friends out on their bullshit. When somebody makes that slick ass remark, when somebody posts some slick ass meme or something, even in any type of totality of racism. You know it. You know the signs. You know that it's out there. But you're not calling them out. And I don't understand why not. It starts at home. It starts around your family. It starts around your family's friends that come over to the barbecue. Call them out. Stop being scared. Stop being scared to confront the idiocy, the ignorance. Stop. Just stop. Fuck racism is my motto because I wholeheartedly feel fuck racism. It needs to die. It needs to go away. Did you know in 1870 there was actually an act put in place by President Grant? And I had to look that up during the break because I forgot which president wrote it. It's called the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1870. And it was to stop KKK and other white supremacist groups from the ignorant shit that they was doing and the domestic terrorism acts that they was creating. Yeah, look it up. It's out there. But then supposedly Reconstruction and all that good stuff happened, and the rebirth occurred of the KKK in 1920, I believe. But here we are in 2021, and it's still alive and well. They might be a little bit hidden, but guess what? All they did was change from sheets and covers and hoods to suits, uniforms. They're sitting as your doctors. They're sitting as your lawyers. They went from one empowerment where they had the freedom to ride through neighborhoods and scare black folks, white folks that supported black folks, and anybody else that was not like them, to let's evolve and start wearing these suits, start becoming empowered as lawyers and judges and doctors. And I'm not saying every doctor or lawyer or professional is racist. I'm not. They're not undercover KKK members. They're not white supremacists or what are these new oath keepers or whatever ignorant ass group done got created these days. Not all of them. They're not. And not all white folks are racist. Not all black folks are prejudiced. Not all Hispanics are prejudiced. Like, we got to get away from grouping everybody into one shell. And white folks, you got to start calling them out. You got to start calling your kin folks out. You got to start calling your friends out. Supposed friends. Change your circle. Understand. Open your eyes. Stop being ignorant. Every time something comes on and it's pinpointing that another black man was killed, it's because another black man was killed. It needs to be reality. It needs to be said in your face. It needs to be discussed. You go from 1870, the Ku Klux Klan Act, to September 11th, 2001, when the Patriot Act was created. It was actually created 2003. But after post 9/11, the laws are already in place. Domestic terrorists need to be shut down because that's exactly what they are. Anybody that creates fear, creates chaos, and creates havoc and hurts people for their own selfish, ignorant ass desires needs to be shut down. Stop allowing it to happen in the United States. Stop. And the claim is, or the argument, I can't say the claim. The argument is, well, Americans are protected by the constitutional rights. And you're right. The constitutional rights of an American that has not created a terrorist act or attack. It's not just mental health issues. Wake up. Start arresting these jokers. Start bringing them to the proper justice system. Not the prejudicial justice system. Not the systematic racism that we know is alive and well. And not every courtroom is like that. Not every judge is like that. But guess what? Until you start from the top, you're not going to get to the bottom. And we got to get to the bottom of it. Period, point blank. Once you create an act of terrorism, your constitutional rights are no longer valid for you, per the Patriot Act. But then again, they're only really using it for homegrown terrorists and international terrorists, not really the domestic ones. Do you know what the difference is? Do you know what the definitions are? An international terrorist is what? Use common sense. Somebody that's international that decided to create havoc and created a terrorist attack, i.e. September 11th, 2001. It's only one example. Then you have your homegrown terrorists. You know, the ones that are born in America, but have the ideations of international terrorist groups and organizations. They use those ideologies abroad. So they're born in America, but they might want to follow Al-Qaeda. I'm quite sure you can look up plenty of scenarios when it comes to that. Then you have the domestic terrorist. Yes, there's an actual definition for that. Born in America, raised in America, without the ideologies of international terrorist organizations. Look it up. Look it up. There's no actual domestic terrorism law, though. They throw the name in there with all the other terrorist organizations. But when you look at it, you have white supremacists. You had a kid or a young man going around Austin bombing random ass places. He was a domestic terrorist. He wasn't targeting any specific group, but he was still a domestic terrorist. The Oklahoma bomber, he was a domestic terrorist. The Olympic bomber, domestic terrorist. Boston bomber was actually a homegrown terrorist. Look it up. We have to stop the hatred. We have to go against the ignorance, the selfishness, and I don't even know what to call it without cussing, but I'm trying not to cuss. Nature versus nurture. People fear what they don't understand. And that's just the beginning of why somebody might dislike somebody else because of their skin color, because they might be a part of the LGBTQ community. People fear what they don't understand. But it's our generation's turn and our children's generation that finally have to, it's 2021, I shouldn't even have to say it. But it's got to stop. It's got to. And white folks, not just white folks, but mostly, because we are still the majority, are going to have to stand up and say enough is enough. And the law enforcement, the court system, and anybody within the judicial range needs to start enforcing the laws that are already in place. How many civil rights acts do we have to have before this shit actually stops? Before somebody is held accountable? Stop. Stop. And maybe our children will be able to live free without seeing color, without seeing sexual identities, without judging somebody because they're different than themselves. It's sickening. It is stressful. And it is beyond time. You have no more space. Anybody that has hate in their heart, you're not welcome anymore. This is not Jim Crow. This is not allowed. This is not accepted. You can't sit here and say this country's never been so divided when this country was built on division. Think about it. Learn the history. Chalk up the reality. Stop just reading something or listening to Joe Snuffy and them next door and assuming. Assumptions make you an ass. Read it, live it, understand it. Talk to somebody that's different from you. Step to it with an open mind and open arms. Get a better reality. Your perspective is fucked up. And with that, again, I say fuck racism, and hopefully, the next generation don't have to deal with this bullshit. Until next time, stay true. HERshyt Show.
Be sure to log on to youtube.com and subscribe to the HERshyt Show at THERshytSHOW. Brought to you by 8 Robinsons TV and Yellow Tub Creative.